Hi diddly ho there, guys. It's Cameron here with Emerson Property Management. Every week I bring you tools, tactics, strategies, a little Rochambeau, lessons I've learned, things that helped me build up a sizable portfolio in about 2 years and now manage that portfolio. Today, guys, I want to talk about maintenance. So, leading cause of tenants not renewing their lease and vacating, what is it? Since I already kind of led you to that, yes, it's the complaint that the landlord or property management company does not fix stuff. So I want to talk about, in this video, I want to talk just briefly, this is not complex stuff, but I want to talk a little bit about how we have and how we get timely maintenance, how we do that. So that's something you can implement. This isn't a complex strategy. It's nothing earth-shattering, but I think you'll find this stuff valuable. Especially if, again, I've been saying this a lot recently, we have a lot of competition in the current environment. So at the time of this recording, late 2022, early 2023, we have a lot of inventory coming online for leases. So you're going to want to make sure that you keep and retain as many tenants as you can. A tenant that lasts 4 or 5 years is way better than turning the property every year. I mean, that's common sense, right? So if you can keep tenants happy, even if you got to spend a little bit of extra money and fix up a couple things, it'll be worth its weight in gold if that tenant stays for a long period of time. So what has been a game changer for the timely maintenance? This is going to be counterintuitive and probably going to be somewhat controversial, but we used to allow tenants, so we'd say, tenant submits a maintenance request. I go, okay, cool. I see that you're saying the garbage disposal isn't working. We might do some troubleshooting, some basic stuff to make sure that it's just not, hitting the reset button or pulling a chicken bone that they put down there out of it. Okay, hey, no, it's leaking on the bottom. I'm not a plumber. I can't really handle this. I need some help. Okay, cool. I go to the vendor, say, here you go, Mr. and Mrs. Vendor. Here's the tenant's contact information. Here's a description of what's going on, address. You schedule it with the tenant. Mr. or Mrs. Vendor would go, okay, I got this email. I see all that stuff. I'm going to call the tenant. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant. So you've got a garbage disposal. What day are you available? Well, I work all day, so I'm really only available like 5 to 7, and we kind of eat at 6. So, 5 to 6 or maybe 6:30 to 8:30. If that would be ideal. How many vendors? Or, evenings or weekends, Saturday, Sunday, I'm around, the kids, I've got kids soccer and stuff, so I might be running around a little bit, but weekends are my best availability. And this goes on time and time again. Vendor will go, I can't do 5:30. I'm going to hit traffic. I'm coming across town. I can't do 5:30. Okay, how about Saturday morning? Well, then you have all these residents, all the tenants who want to schedule Saturday, Sunday, or tenants or the vendors after 5 p.m. and it's just not feasible. These guys got to get in there to work. So the biggest change that we made was saying, okay, you've submitted this maintenance request. The vendor is now going to tell you with at least 24 hours notice when they're going to be at the property. A 2-hour window. Now, CenterPoint and some of these other utility companies might give you a 12-hour window, but a 2-hour window is pretty reasonable. That can create some friction with the residents. Hey, I can't be here that time. Well, that's okay. Leave a key. We're going to be in at this time and we're going to be out at this time. These guys, you've got insurance, hopefully on these folks, or you've been working with them long enough that you understand that they're quality folks. And if they want to be there, they'll have to rearrange their schedule. Now, there are times that come up when, a vendor says, hey, I'm going to be there between 2 and 4 p.m. tomorrow. And the tenant comes back, hey, that's my kid's birthday party, or we're going to do this or whatever. I really can't do that. And the vendor will work with them. But putting that control in the vendor or for the vendor to make the schedule and the tenant has to abide by it. And trust me, I've gotten the calls initially. Karen, this guy's trying to schedule. I've got this going on. I've got that going on. I want to be here. I've had stuff stolen out of my house. I get it. I totally do. Which is not a big deal if you have one property and a vendor. Actually, it is a big deal. I'm going to take that statement back. Sometimes it's not a big deal. If you don't have a lot of work, the vendors don't have a lot of work, it's winter, they'll run around and chase a tenant into getting it scheduled and work around the tenant schedule. But I can tell you from experience, and I can tell you without a doubt, in summertime when ACs go out and you can't get the HVAC tech out with it's 100 degrees and you've got a family with kids or elderly people without air, and they're saying, hey, I need somebody ASAP, and they can't be there till after 5 and this and that, and there's a certain criteria. Do you think the vendor's gonna continue to go with you and your tenant that's becoming a pain in the rear end, or are they gonna go to somebody else that they can just schedule and tell you when they're gonna be there? You better leave a key or there's a trip charge. It is the vendors, we as an industry, or as residents and homeowners, sometimes we do not respect the vendor's schedule. And I can tell you, by respecting the vendor's schedule and giving them the control of that, they will take better care of the tenants. Because do you think they really want to be over there Sunday at noon, right after church or right before church, or Saturday when they're supposed to be watching their kids' game, and man, I've got to go over here and replace this friggin' garbage disposal or light bulb or whatever that's they get discouraged. And if your vendor's not doing a good job, your tenant's not going to be happy, because the vendor didn't spend the time they needed to do the extra time to fix the problem right. They did it kind of half-assed or quickly because they want to get back to their kids' games, or it's late, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, and they got to get home and tuck their kids in. So by giving the vendor that control, they do a better job at maintenance. And when they do a better job of maintenance, they don't have to go back out, saves the owner's money, saves you money as an owner, saves property managers headaches. And yeah, the tenant might get their feathers ruffled every now and then, but they know when they put a request in that that guy's going to be there. He's going to be there when he says, and he's going to take care of the problem. That this shift has been huge for us. And trust me, I'm not sitting here saying it's all sunshine and rainbows, because there are tenants that get flustered. It's rare and it's few and far between. We've got like 170, 180 tenants, and it's like one hand I can count how many tenants hate anytime they submit a maintenance request. They have to know and be in exactly this and exactly that. It's like, well, fine, just go without a fridge for 2 weeks. If the vendor cannot work until 5 p.m. or on Saturday or Sunday, I cannot work with that. We cannot provide good service for maintenance. Tenant gets mad, vendor's mad. Like I said, it's a vicious cycle. So that's my secret. It's not really a secret. It's just a little shift. And I think if you communicate that with your tenant up front, like we do, we set the expectations up front. So when a tenant moves in, I say, listen, the vendor, when you put a request in, the vendor is going to tell you when they're going to be there. And you need to be in that window or leave a key. And if there is an emergency or something serious comes up, you can reschedule, but that needs to be used few and far between. And if by giving that control and setting that expectation up front with the tenants, then they can work, they're okay working with the vendor. They get to know them after they meet them once or twice and talk with you. It's okay, but you can't have it the other way around. It will not work. I can tell you, it will create more headaches, and your vendors will start to leave you for other people that are easier to work with. When the vendors are hungry and it's winter and there's not a lot of work, they'll work with you. But if you've got a handful of houses and the vendors are spending time and time again trying to schedule or going to a property and they're not letting them in, that creates a lot of headaches. They'll go work with somebody else that's easier to work with. I hope that was helpful. If it was, let me know. If it wasn't, let me know. Remember, the lack of maintenance, the lack of taking care of a property, maintaining and properly maintaining a property, that was a lot of properties and maintenance in there. The lack of maintenance and letting a property deteriorate is the number one reason why tenants leave. Right now, you're going to really thank yourself if you can keep your tenants in your properties and you don't have to do a turnover. Kick that expense down the road, keep good tenants in place, do what you can by fixing stuff and fixing stuff timely. And this is a way to do that. I hope that was helpful. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next week.